don't hire a sales rep in your contracting business. I was chatting to a client that's working with us. He's a contractor, I believe somewhere in the US. And he was asking me, Amber, I don't have time to get to my bids, and I really want to submit more bids. I'm stuck on the tools. I'm stuck on the job site. How do I hire like a sales rep? And like, for his specific situation, and I've had this like come up before, where there's a high likelihood that hiring a sales rep is actually not the right hire to make. So his specific situation was this. He was working like 60 hours a week in his business, and what was happening was all the bids that he could be submitting were just piling up. And for his sales process, like sometimes it would take like a bid or like a design a couple of hours to put together. Sometimes his sales cycle can be upwards of like 8 weeks or something crazy like that. And so he was just kind of thinking about it. It's like, okay, I'm needed on the tools. I need to submit more bids. Let me just hire somebody to do the estimating for me and submit those bids for me. Seems somewhat logical. Here's the thing. If you had to guess, what's harder? Is it harder to try to train somebody how to estimate, price correctly, actually translate it to a contract, go meet a customer, sell it, close it, and then take that information and give it to the production team or the actual crew that's going to produce the job, or hire some employees to actually run the job site for you? Depending on like your level of experience, you wouldn't know which path to take there specifically, but I'll share from my end this mental model. It's around opportunity cost. You'll see me mentioning this over and over and over because it can be used in different contexts. If we were forced to put a value on how much is it worth for somebody to spend an hour on the tools, installing something, remodeling something, demoing something, like how would we do that? How would you go about that? Well, it's pretty simple. I mean, you can hire people or get subcontractors. So you'll start getting numbers anywhere between like $25 an hour, $20 an hour, all the way up to like $80, $90 an hour. So, okay, that's how you come up with a value of someone like that on a job site. But let's try to come up with a value of putting together an estimate. Now, on average, even if you're at, like, you got to think about your average job size. How much on average is a job worth in dollars? And you might say, well, Amber, it varies. But if you had to like just come up with an average, a rough average, I mean, I hear things anywhere from like $4,000 all the way up to like $80,000. So let's just take a simple example. Say your average job size is $10,000. Now, let's say that if you submit 10 bids, you land 5 of them. And that's you being the face of the owner, you're putting the price together. And let's say your pricing was good, because there's 2 factors here that you got to keep in mind, is the profitability of the job, as well as the likelihood of the job closing. Those 2 things we are risking by trying to delegate and hire somebody to do this for us. So let's take this example. Average job size, $10,000. And if you are submitting 10 bids, you land half of them at 5 bids out of 10. Now, if you brought somebody in, let's say they only closed 4 out of 10, not 5 out of 10. But everything else was accurate. But they weren't just as charismatic as you or haven't picked up the ropes. I mean, again, you're the owner. You have an owner advantage of doing some of these bids. What does that cost you as a company? Like, really do the math. Let's say you're submitting 10 bids a month and you land 5 of them. You take 5 bids over 12 months. That's 60 bids. That's a $600,000 business based on this math. If your sales rep lands 4 out of 10 versus 5 out of 10, that means you will make 1 less deal every single month. That's 12 deals. That's $120,000 of revenue that's just out the window. And that's just a 20%. That's them being just worse than you by 20%. Pretty expensive. And that's completely ignoring the fact that you've spent so many years understanding how long things take, and that you're able to put together a price or a quote knowing that like profit matters. Like, you're not going to try to take shortcuts or cut price by too much to try to land the job. Now, for your sales rep, he might not have that. And so all in all, from like a risk perspective, opportunity cost perspective, And there's a whole other aspect to this, which is it's ridiculously difficult to train a sales rep. Putting all that together, my recommendation usually is get off the tools, get a foreman, get a person in the office, like an office assistant, put all your time and effort into marketing and selling. And if your time is basically running out, you're putting together like 20 bids in a week and you barely have time to like do things, no problem. Delegate the marketing. Go find a way to train somebody in the office to do the marketing for you, to put together a door-to-door team or whatever. The last thing you want to delegate is the bids. Now, if you've done all of that, you've delegated the marketing, you've delegated the job site, you've delegated the admin, then we can talk about delegating to a sales rep. But first things first, you're going to have to take all the knowledge you have around sales and create it into systems. And so that's why, if for whatever reason you are thinking of bringing on a sales rep, just ask yourself this. Do you have somebody in the office? Do you have your job sites completely delegated? And have you solved your marketing bottleneck? If all those are solved, then it's time to spend your time and attention understanding how to train somebody to do sales and taking all that knowledge that's in your head and putting it on paper. But I just wanted to share that. So just an interesting interaction and a conversation I had just last week. Let me know what you guys think about that logic. If you disagree, let me know. Otherwise, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the comments. Take care.